Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to a palette countdown. We are going to be counting down by nearly 10 most recent eyeshadow palettes that I've been playing with. I think I put 10 in the title, but I put like nearly 10. I have 9 palettes and it's so close to 10 it kind of annoyed me that I couldn't put 10, but there are 9. Just to be totally upfront and honest, there are 9 palettes that we're going to get into. They are the 9 palettes that I've been testing out since, I think, December. Beginning of December is when I picked these out during the Shop My Stash, and I've been trying them December and then January after the baby came, and I'm ready to kind of give you guys my full thoughts on all of these palettes, and I have laid them out in a ranking order. Let's cross our fingers at this time when I am giving you guys my ranking that I keep the right order, or that I keep the correct count, because if you watch my monthly favorites, I tried to do a countdown in that one, and halfway through I swapped and I think I confused a lot of you. I confused myself. By the time I got to the end, I was like, wait, I thought I started. It was a hot mess express, though. I'm going to try my best to not do that in this video. But anyway, if I'm talking a little low and a little subdued, my little newborn son is sleeping next door in the next room. So I'm slightly worried that I might wake him up with my talking, but we're going to cross our fingers, try not to be too long-winded, and hopefully get through these 9 palette reviews and share with you guys all my thoughts on these palettes and which one ended up at the bottom and which one ended up at the top. Okay, let's start with number 10, and let me know if you guys are at all surprised to see this at the very bottom. This is the LORAC Neon Lights Pro Press Pigment Palette. Well, I bought this and I did a 3 looks 1 palette. It's the very first 3 looks 1 palette that I did, and while I love these neon colors at the top, they are just a lot harder to work with and a lot different than you would imagine. Definitely go check out that video. That is another thing with me doing these 3 looks 1 palette. I give a little review at the end, and also like throughout the tutorial I kind of give you guys reviews on each specific shade that I'm using if I have any issues. So definitely watch that video if you want more in-depth about each of the shadows. But for today in this video, basically this shade didn't live up to the expectation I had. It goes on a lot more of a mustard subdued tone than a neon yellow, and then Blue Moon was very tricky to work with. So the 2 easiest were these 2 shades, and you know, I'm not as crazy about the pinks and whatnot, but it was fun. But all around it was a tricky palette to work with, and if you're wanting to do a lot of blending, they didn't like to be blended too much, especially Blue Moon. Party is not a fun shade. It's very flaky, it's very sheer, it's very chunky. Anyway, overall this palette just fell a little short for me. These shades down here, they just, I don't know, it was a little tricky to kind of use them in conjunction with such vibrant colors. This color Haze was such a disappointment. I mean, it looks kind of pretty, but when you actually put it on the lid, I mean, first of all, can you tell how chalky that and dusty that is? But when you put it on, it's very sheer, and then if you try to build it up, it doesn't build up, and the more you mess with it, the more it disappears. I tried to use this in a look, and I eventually had to put something else over it just because it kept looking worse and worse the more I played with it. Cocktails and Disco were very pretty. They did have some glitter fallout in there, but they're very smooth metallic formula. But overall, this just was a disappointment. It was a lot trickier to work with, and it just, for all those reasons, definitely watch the video if you want more details and, you know, in-depth reasons as to why it's ending up at number 10, but it definitely was in the 10 spot just because once I finished my 3 looks 1 palette and finished testing this out, I don't think I'll ever reach for this when it comes to neons. I want to try to find a much easier formula to work with when it comes to neon shadows or just vibrant matte shadows. It was very tricky to work with, so I wouldn't say I'd recommend it to anyone. Next up at number 9 is the Storybook Cosmetics Fairy Tales palette. Now this palette is a big chunky little thing. We got this in a Boxycharm. It has 3, let me try to not blind you with the mirror. It has 6 little shadows here. I think I said 6 shadows. And the main reason it's going in at number 9 is just because of Color Story. Not me. If you are someone who likes very neutral colors, I think you would like this. I think with this palette, there are 3 mattes and 3 shimmers. I like the mattes most, but as you can see, these 2 mattes are almost identical. Like one's more pinky, one's more brown. They're very close in tone. And then this is not even that deep of a brown, in my opinion, for me to want to deepen up my outer corner. It's not that deep. But, I mean, it's very rich, very creamy, blends really nicely. I would say the only thing you have to be careful for is not to blend too much away, or, you know, to blend too much and blend the color away. But overall, the mattes in here were very silky, very easy to blend. The shimmers, I don't know, I just wasn't crazy about it. This red, which is what I was hoping to really impress me, is very dry feeling for starters, like polar opposite to these 2. It feels very dry and chalky and dusty. And then when you go to swatch it, it's not shimmery. It's more of just a wash of an interesting type of red. I was really hoping for a very metallic punch of red, and it just kind of fell short for me personally. The other 2 shimmers, as I said, are very nice. Like the formula is very nice. It's very creamy. It's very silky smooth and stuff like that, so I liked it. But I don't know, I just struggled to make an eye look with this palette that I liked. So that's kind of why it landed at number 9, mainly for the color story and just not being able to get a look that I absolutely loved. I hope I'm scooted over enough to show you guys the looks that I did. I always forget to mention that, but I do save all the looks that I do throughout the month of testing this palette out, so that'll be going on the side here. But yeah, that's the biggest reason why it's landing at number 9. This red was just such a dud, and then there's just not enough mattes. There's not enough variety. It's only 6 shadows, so I should keep that in mind. But for me personally, my preferences, it just fell short. So that's why I landed at number 9. I would be willing to try more from Storybook Cosmetics and maybe just focus on getting, if I ever were to buy from Storybook Cosmetics, try to make sure it's a palette where there's more variety and I like all the color story, and hopefully they'll hit it out of the park with the shimmers, because like I said, this one was a very big dud. When I tried to use it in a look, I was very disappointed when I put that on my lid. Okay, next for number 8 is the Ace Beaute Vintage Dawn palette. This one I don't have a 3 looks 1 palette, but I do have a first impressions that I don't think is up yet, but it is coming soon, so you'll see the first look that I created with this. And I have experienced Ace Beaute's formula in the past. We got in a Boxycharm. It wasn't any colors that I liked. I think it was like really red and brown tones, so I ended up decluttering it. But when I saw this, it was so vibrant and beautiful. I really wanted to try it, and so I was like, well, maybe I'll like the formula. So I remembered why I didn't like the metallic formula. It's just almost too creamy, almost too emollient, to the point that when you put it on your lid, it looks gorgeous when you first put it on. It looks like you literally have just a wet foil shadow on your, like, it's so beautiful. Why did I swatch it on my knuckle? The things I asked myself. It just looks wet. It's gorgeous. It's so beautiful and so reflective. And when you put it on your eye initially, it looks beautiful. What I noticed, and what you can tell if you look, I'll leave a couple videos linked down below where I did my first impression with this, and then I recorded videos later in the day, and you can see that the shimmer, which I think I had this one or this one on my lid, I think it was this one on my lid that day, it was starting to break up and almost sheer out, and by the time I washed my face at the end of the day, it looked a lot more, not as metallic and beautiful as this. Like, it did not look like this at all at the end of the day. It looked very diffused, it was broken up, it was very subdued, and if you looked up close, you could almost see where it was just starting to fade off. And I don't even know if it was fading off or just flaking off, because it's just so, like I said, creamy, and there's just so much moisture in it. It kind of like it disappears throughout the day, or with the opening and closing of your eyes, it starts to disappear. And it's more, I don't know how to describe it, but I just don't like their shimmers and how they wear throughout the day. I think they're gorgeous when they first apply it, but I just never like how they look at the end of the day. So for that reason, I kind of stand to what my previous review of the brand and their palettes. I'm just not crazy about their shimmer formula. It's fine. It's just not my favorite, but their mattes are a lot nicer. I still don't love them though, so I don't know if I'll be making any more Ace Beaute purchases in the future, just because I tried them. And this is gorgeous. I love the vibrancy in this palette, but I just really struggle with using too many other mattes together. And I feel like I said the same thing with the previous palette. Like, if I went in, and I think for that look I went in with Horizon. I don't know. If I go in with Horizon and I use it to deepen up Grand Canyon, it works okay, but Grand Canyon doesn't give the punch that it would if you put Grand Canyon first, if that makes sense. And I felt like with this palette, I had to really place the shadows where I wanted and just blend a tiny bit between them, and then don't mess with them. If I do too many, I just find that I can't layer this. That's the word I'm looking for. These mattes don't like to layer on top and mesh with each other well. If I tried to put, this cactus on top of Grand Canyon, it would start to not only muddy out, but sheer out and like almost disappear off your eyes. Like, it wouldn't stick to it. And because I was messing with it so much, Grand Canyon would start to fade out and get a lot lighter, because I would sit there and just be messing with it. So this would start to fade out, and this just really wouldn't want to stick. And it was just a lot of struggling to make it work whenever I reach for this palette. Like I said, it's not terrible though. I'm not saying this is a terrible quality. You just have to be mindful of the way you're putting on your shadows and trying to make sure you place the shadows where you want it, and then kind of blend and mesh everything together instead of really building on top of shades, which is what I feel like I tend to do. I like to put something down first, deepen it up in the crease, put something deeper on the outer corner, and work with it that way. So I hope that makes sense. Like I said, not a terrible formula. I know a lot of people who like this, but I've also heard a couple other people reach out to me and be like, hey, do you ever struggle to work with the mattes in this palette? All around, it's a nice palette. I'll keep it in my collection because it's definitely gorgeous. I absolutely love this very neon orange, but I don't think I'll be exploring the brand, at least eyeshadow palettes, anymore, because I just know I'm not crazy about the formula. So that's kind of why I have landed it at the number 8 spot. Okay, so next for the 7th spot is the Milani Gilded Jade palette. This guy right here. I absolutely loved working with the greens in this palette. I felt like whenever I had to work with the greens, it was just so much fun. And I thought this, That's Deep was a little tricky to work with just because I think it was mostly due to the fact that this is such a deep green. And then the next shade is like, a lot lighter and brighter. So keep that in mind. But I thought this was such fun to work with, and I love the shades that I got out. This minty shade was a lot of fun. I love the looks that I got out of it, and this shade right here, so pretty. It's called Try Me. Such a gorgeous metallic. It's more of a softer type of metallic. It's not like intense glittery sparkly metallic, but it's a beautiful, very reflective type of metallic finish that is gorgeous on the eyes. I do have a first impressions of this. I'll leave that link down below. I didn't do a 3 looks 1 palette, but the reason I kind of put it down to the number, what is this, 7? Yeah, 7th spot is because I wasn't crazy about the neutrals in here. Whenever I tried to go neutral with this, I felt like throughout the day, I noticed a lot of like fading, which kind of surprised me because I didn't really notice that when I did the greens. I don't know if it's just because they're so vibrant and these browns are more subdued. So that's kind of one reason it ended up so low. This highlight though is gorgeous. I was very impressed with it. It is absolutely stunning. And it shows up that kind of green reflect, but nothing too crazy, so it looks very wearable. For a green highlight, I should say. Like, I'm not someone to wear very colorful highlights on my face. Like, I just want something shiny, kind of my skin tone, so it's nothing crazy. But this goes on and looks very natural, but then when you just tilt your head, you have that green shift, that just little glint of green, and I found it very wearable for a colorful highlight. So that was my favorite. I could not use this as a highlight. It was too dark for me, but I did use it on my eyes as kind of like an eyeshadow, and it was fine. It wasn't anything exceptional, like super intense. It was just more of a wash of color. I just wet my hands, so it's a lot more intense. But anyway, overall, I was very glad to see this palette come out from Milani Cosmetics and for it to have so many greens. This gold here was also really pretty. Yeah, these 2 shimmers I was very happy with. They just are a more subdued shimmer. They are definitely more shimmery than metallic or foiled or anything like that. So keep that in mind if you're grabbing this wanting something like the metallic color in the Just My Luck palette from ColourPop. It's not that intense and foiled and wet looking, but it's very pretty, and I enjoyed the green looks that I got from it. So yeah, overall it's just, there's a lot that I liked about this palette, but there was also a lot that I wasn't crazy about, and sometimes because of the color selection not having a lot of medium, or enough for me, medium tones, just because there's such a drastic difference between these two, blending could take a while, but you could get there, so that was nice. But anyway, like I said, I do have a first impression, so if you want to see the green shades in action, you can watch that video to watch me apply them to my eyes, and I thought this formula was very nice. It's not my favorite, it's not anything crazy, revolutionary, or the best in my collection, honestly, but thinking about the drugstore, I feel like it's one of the best when it comes to greens that I've experienced at the drugstore, so I was very happy to see that. Okay, just had to change out my battery pack, so if I'm in a little bit of a different situations because I had to replace the battery. Anyway, moving on to, what did I say, the 6th palette in this countdown. This is, I did it again, I don't have 10. Why did I start with 10 when I had 9? Katie. Sleep would benefit you. Okay, so we had the Neon Lights, you guys, I'm a mess. The Neon Lights from LORAC is 9. Fairy Tales is 8. The Ace Beaute is 7. The Milani is 6. So number 5 is the Mellow Sinopia palette. One of these days I'll actually be a good YouTuber. So anyway, this is the Sinopia palette by Mellow Cosmetics, and it earned the 5th spot. I thought it was very nice. It was right in the middle. I think the reason I put it up so high is because the quality of this is very nice, and I was very impressed with it. I just put the lighting down because I felt like I was very washed out. Anyway, I thought the quality of this was very nice. Blending this was so effortless and so easy and so dreamy smooth. Now it could just be because they're all different shades of like brown and mauve, and that's why they're so close and so easy to work together. But I thought every time that I had to reach for this, it was just so very easy and effortless to do the blend and just kind of get a really, really pretty neutral look and get out the door, and I thought it was gorgeous. So that's definitely why I put this up so high, because if you guys can tell, I'm not super into these tones so much anymore. It's very neutral for me, but It's a good neutral palette if you're someone who likes neutrals. I thought the quality was there, which is why I wanted to put it at number 5 and put it higher than some of my other palettes, because the quality is outstanding. And if you don't want to have to worry about blending, if you don't want to have to worry about, you know, trying to mesh two very different hues of colors together, there's plenty in here that kind of meet in the middle and just can make that getting that gradient in an eye look very easy and effortless. I think the biggest con for me, besides it being a neutral palette, the biggest downfall to this palette is that the blue, the only way I liked using it was if I just put it on my lower lash line. There was one day, I think it was a Boxycharm unboxing, so I'll leave that linked up here or down below if you want to go see, but I did a look where I put the blue all over the lid and I just deepened it up because dust is the only dark shade I had, so I put blue all over the lid and then deepened it in the outer corner as much as I could with dust. And I just did not like how it looked. Like, I felt like it needed a black or a really, really dark, deep brown. This was too much of a dusty, kind of muted brown, if you can see. So that when I put this on, while it's pretty, it was blue. It definitely wasn't metallic or foiled or anything like that. It's barely shimmery. It's more of like a satiny type of blue. When I put that on, I just felt like the line where the blue stopped and this dusty, you know, brown that I was trying to deepen it started. It just looked very odd to me. I did not like that look at all. I got a couple compliments on it, which thank you guys, but for me personally, I needed a darker color and a more intense brown or a black in there, just because it just looked kind of like I did, you know, cut it out with the blue and then I just left it unfinished, if that makes sense. It just did not look like it flowed well for an eye look for me. So for this to have only, you know, this blue and the only kind of thing to take it deeper is that dusty type of brown, I just felt like it didn't go. And the only time I liked using the blue is if I just stuck it on my lower lash line, which just feels a little limiting and boring for the one pop of color to really only look good if it's on the bottom. And, you know, take it for granted, this is coming from someone who, you know, I only have my skills. I'm only so good at doing makeup, so maybe it's just my limitations on not being able to use the blue. But I did want to point that out because that's something that for me, when I was using this palette, I was just kind of like, ah, bummer. Like, the only time I like it is if it's just on the lower lash line. So it is a very easy type of blue to put on the lower lash line. It blended in very nicely, took no work. There was no kind of fallout, glittery, anything getting in my eyes. It's a very smooth type of shadow, so that was nice. And then, I mean, just to kind of swatch a couple others, I forget if I said it, I do have a look with this on my channel. I did a neutral glam tutorial, so you can, I'll leave that linked up above, down in the cards, but you can look at that if you want to see a look done with this palette. But yeah, their shimmers are gorgeous. I thought, like, I mean, that's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous for the inner corner. And this is also really reflective and pretty. Again, not a chunky type of metallic or wet looking formula or anything glittery, but very smooth, very pretty, and elegant is what I would call this palette in the metallic or the shimmery formula. I see it as very elegant. The mattes also, like I said, very easy to work with, very easy to blend. It is more of a dry formula. I need more room here. It's more of a dry formula when you feel these mattes, so I feel like a lot of times people can feel that and go like, ooh, this is going to work well, but they blended so beautifully. I had absolutely no problems with them, and I absolutely loved how they blended. So overall, this was just a nice palette, and I think it's just fitting to put it at number 5 because it's right in the middle for me. It was nice. Well, it's not my colors though, so it wasn't like I'm crazy about this palette, but I can't deny it's a very nice quality palette. Okay, moving along to number 4. This is when it always gets tricky for me, but for the number 4 spot, I'm going to put in the Midas Cosmetics Green Tea Macchiato Eyeshadow Palette. This little guy right here, this is part of their like fall coffee collection. Such a cute collection. Absolutely loved it. There were 4 quads total. I only got 2 of them just because they were the colors that spoke to me the most. I do have eye swatches of this quad on my channel, so if you want to see how these look on the eyes, I'll have that video linked down below at this point. It must be. But anyway, this palette is just so cute and I really enjoyed it. And the only reason it's put so low is because the other palettes that I've put in front of it, I like the color story more. And this color story, while it's me, definitely, it's very much a neutral me. I love this kind of very mustard, dirty type of mustard tone, and then this brown, this green is gorgeous, very, very pretty. But her formula, Midas Cosmetics formula, is a very interesting formula because when you feel it and when you go to like work with it, you almost think it's not going to perform well because it's such a thin feeling formula for her mattes I'm talking about. It's a very thin formula, but it builds up on itself and it blends out so well. I mean, you can look at the eye swatch video. When I did it, I wasn't sure how it would look because I knew she had a thin formula, so I was curious if the eye swatches would look terrible. But you can see in that video, they go on so beautifully, I think, and they build up so easily, and you don't have that problem of like being so richly pigmented, if you put too much on it, it almost starts to like patch off and look weird. I was a little bummed that this color was the only shimmer in the palette just because it's such a dark color, but I did a couple looks in it. I thought it was really pretty. I want to say I used this in another look. What was I doing? Oh, products that I love but don't talk about all the time. I used this quad to create that look, so you can see, I think I leave the clip in where I kind of do my eyes real quickly, but you can see how this looks on my eyes. I used all the colors, and overall, yeah, I was just very happy and pleased with this. And like I said, the only reason it's below the 3 others in front of it is because of the color story. It's just being very neutral. But like I said, I got it because while it is neutral, it's kind of like my neutral. It's like a grungy neutral palette, which I do like. So I did want to get it. And yeah, Midas Cosmetics once again hit it out of the park when it came to this little quad. Okay, next up is Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Thunder. This one I do have a 3 looks 1 palette. I think it's either already out on my channel or it's coming next, so stay tuned if you don't see it yet. But this, I like the color story. I like the creativity of this palette, but I wasn't crazy about how limiting it is. Now keep in mind that this is a mini palette. The actual Celestial, I think it's called Celestial Storm, is much bigger, so the colors that I'm missing in this little mini might have been what I needed to enjoy this more. Because if you look at this, I feel like this is a good companion palette, because like really there's just, I don't know, I just struggled to use these shades in looks that I really liked, because there wasn't a whole lot to go and like go around it with, if that makes sense, like other shades. There are only 3 different types of shimmers. I really enjoyed these 2. This is more of a duochrome. It's like a champagne-y pinky duochrome. I did use it in a look, so be on the lookout for that. This is more of a top, kind of like a topper top coat. I did not like using this. It's very, once again, very sheer, but it has a lot of glitter in it, so it falls everywhere, but it doesn't really want to stick. So I used this a couple times as an inner corner highlight, but I could definitely feel like the little glitter particles getting into my eye, and I don't like that. My eyes water very easily, so I don't like using those type of shades. Definitely wasn't a favorite of mine, but these 2 I thought were really pretty. This one too, Black Matters. I liked it a lot more than I thought. I did a look, it was very intense for me. I'm not someone who typically does smoky black eyes, but I did a look where I had this all over my lid and then just the pink in the crease. Oh, it's going to be in my 3 looks 1 palette, duh. Anyway, it was a fun look, very different for me, but I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought. And if you use a glitter glue, I didn't notice too many glitter fallouts on my face with either of these shades. And then with the mattes, blending them, they're fairly nice. They're not my favorite to work with. They're very pigmented and they tend to, especially the browns, blend out fairly nicely. Again, not the best, but they build up nicely. I'm not going to say this is my favorite palette. Honestly, that's why I put this at the, you know, number 3 spot, just because I don't really foresee myself reaching for it again. I feel like with this palette, I'll probably reach for it if I am creating a look. I rarely do this, but if I'm creating a look and I want like a duochrome peachy copper, I'd grab this. Or if I'm doing a look and I wanted some type of, you know, minty blue, I'd grab this, that kind of thing. And this gray, all you can really deepen any of these mattes up with is a gray. And I'm not someone to use glitter to deepen up a color, so it just felt a little limiting when it came to the deepening aspect of a look, which you guys know I like to deepen up my looks. It's just something I personally love to do. So just those reasons right there. I'm not crazy about this palette. It was nice. I enjoyed it. I can see myself reaching for it for a couple of shades. The formula was okay. I'm not sure what I think about Dominique Cosmetics as a whole. I know I don't love her eyeshadow formula. There's something about her eyeshadow formula that I'm not crazy about, both her shimmers and her mattes. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll try. Like, I feel like Ace Beaute, I feel like I can confidently say, I'm good. I've tried that brand. I know I'm not crazy about their formula. I don't need to buy from them anymore. I don't need to, you know, keep trying their palettes. But with Dominique Cosmetics, I feel like I can't come down that hard on it. And if she came out with a color story in the future that really grabbed me, I think I would probably try another palette and hopefully then be able to say, okay, this eyeshadow palette isn't for me, or okay, I really like this eyeshadow formula when I enjoy the colors. I hope all that made sense. Okay, moving on to number 2, we have Moonslice Beauty. This is the Emerald Moon palette. Now, I'm going to leave a video link down below from Vera Nyx. Courtney, she runs Vera Nyx blog and YouTube. She did a video going into some of the controversy with this brand. This is a sister brand to Saucebox Cosmetics, and they're in a bit of hot water right now. Like I said, I don't want to get into it here, but please, if you're at all considering purchasing from Moonslice Beauty or Saucebox Cosmetics, watch that video to kind of be informed of what you're getting yourself into before you make a purchase. For me personally, I didn't have any bad experience. I would say the only thing I think is it took a long time to ship, but it was a long time, but it was still reasonable. So, but yeah, I just want to make sure you guys are aware of the controversy before you would make a purchase or, you know, hear my review on this. So anyway, moving on to this. At the time of this review or this recording, I haven't heard of any resolution. So I'm really hoping the brand owner comes through and clears everything up. But anyway, just talking about the makeup, just talking about this palette. Emerald Moon is a really nice palette. It's what I have on my eyes today. I do have a 3 looks 1 palette coming. I know that it's not live at the time of this video going up, so be on the lookout. It should be coming soon in the next week or two. But I had a lot of fun with this. Is it the greatest green formula in my collection? No, honestly. I feel like there's a lot of other greens that I enjoy working with, more so in the grungy area. When it comes to vibrant greens, I thought this was a very nice formula to work with. I really enjoyed it. And if there was any kind of shade that I felt like I struggled with, it was more so the browns, which I was surprised because I feel like neutrals is usually where brands hit it out of the park. It's just easy to formulate, and then the colors are where it gets harder. But no, overall, I thought all the greens were very easy to work with, and I really liked the variety of shimmers that she included in this palette. This is an absolutely stunning inner corner highlight. It's not like metallic and chunky, but it's very smooth and reflective. This shade is very, very, very creamy. Not my favorite to work with just because it's creamy to the point of almost being chunky, but can you see that reflectiveness? This is something you put on and it looks wet. It's just that such metallic formula. It's very gorgeous. And then these two shades down here are once again that kind of wet formula, but it's got a lot of glitter in it, so it was very pretty. I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did, because usually if it's too much glitter, I'm just kind of like, oh, I don't want to worry about that, but it's very pretty. I did use glitter glue when I used this, and I still got some fallout. Nothing terrible though, so that was encouraging, but you will still get glitter fallout. But I just really appreciated the varying kind of textures she gave with the shimmers. These have the glitter. These are very much more smooth and just more color and intensity and shimmeriness, and this is more of like that really wet, foiled looking type of shade. She does have one of those shades with glitter in it, the matte shades with glitter in it, which I was very bummed, especially because this was the yellow and the only yellow in the palette, and it had glitter, and not just a little bit of glitter, it had a lot of glitter. So when I used this in my crease, I got glitter all over my face, all over my crease, and I was just very bummed. Oh, I didn't clean out this hand. But it's a gorgeous color. I thought it was very pretty and very nice to use and work with into a look, but my crease was full of glitter that day, which was a very big bummer. I wish it was just a true matte. It would be absolutely gorgeous. It reminds me of that shade in one of the, was it the Nomad, I think, from Juvia's Place, except it had a lot more glitter than the Nomad. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'm going to be having a 3 looks 1 palette, and I will go in and dive more into my review of this as a whole. There are definitely some pros, some cons to it, but overall, I was very happy. And thinking about all the palettes that I used this past month, this definitely fully deserved the number 2 spot. If I was just reviewing all this on quality, I feel like this would be a little bit lower in my ranking, but keep in mind, this is like a $20 palette. It is more affordable. But anyway, this isn't a bad formula. I was really happy with it, which makes it a little weird to review because I don't want to say I recommend you go buy this right now with all the controversy and drama going on surrounding this brand, but maybe keep an eye on the controversy, and if it clears up, maybe check out this brand, or maybe just use PayPal when you buy it so you can get your money back if something goes wrong. I don't know, but I feel weird reviewing it, but keep in mind I purchased this before I had any knowledge of the controversy, and I didn't even realize when I purchased this that this was a sister brand of Saucebox Cosmetics. I just thought it was a new indie brand on the market, so I was way out of the loop. And then after I got it, a couple, I want to say weeks after I received it, is when I heard about all the controversy, and I was like, oh shoot, should I use it? And I figured I'd already spent the money and I'd already shown you guys on social media, so I figured I would at least use it and give you guys my review of it. I can't really find a whole lot of fault in it, especially considering the price. I'm very happy with it and can totally see myself wanting to reach back for it to create more looks. I was really happy with the matte look that I got today. I thought it was very beautiful, and I just liked the intensity of the greens. Okay, coming in at number 1. I think I did the countdown right once I figured out not to start at 10. But anyway, this is the Midas Cosmetics Pumpkin Spice Latte Eyeshadow Palette. This is the other palette that I got, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised. It earned number 1. I know my lights are washing it out, but I'll put a picture here. This is what it looks like. This is what I see in real life. The oranges are so vibrant, it's almost mind-boggling how vibrant she can get it. I wish I could capture this on camera accurately, but I'm not savvy enough when it comes to lights and technology to show you guys, and I'm so sorry. Anyway, it's absolutely gorgeous. This palette, I don't know if I took a picture the day I did this, but I did one day where I put the oranges on my eyes and then just this in the outer corner. The oranges look so neon. I was in love. The shimmer shade in here is also really pretty. Again, it's more of a deeper tone, so I wasn't crazy about it just because it's not my vibe, but it's really pretty, like, I guess I would call it a dirty rose gold. I don't know. But the Espresso, this shade, the darkest shade in here, a little tricky to work with. I think mainly because it's really the only deep shade in here. Little man's waking up. It's the only deep tone in here. But with a little bit of work, you could make it work. You just had to be, I felt like I had to be a little bit careful not to go on too heavy, or I could spend too long blending and just feel like it was looking a little patchy along the edges or too harsh or whatnot. So I felt like with this shade, especially since there wasn't a whole lot in the palette to use to kind of help soften it out, there wasn't like a deeper or a lighter red to help soften it out. I felt like this was much better used very lightly and then just built up and really intensified in the spot you wanted and then blended out and buffed out, if that makes sense at all. I'm gonna have to go get little man. But yeah, anyway, before I run and get him and feed him, yeah, overall, I really love this palette, and it came in at number 1, mainly because of the color story, and I absolutely love those vibrant oranges. This is orange, but this is more of like a yellow orange. I don't know, it's beautiful. They're very similar, but I love that they're both in here, and I can see this being just the perfect little companion pocket-sized palette to throw in and use with a look or to add to a look. And I was surprised how much I liked this kind of reddish, purplish tone in the outer corner with orange. It was very pretty together, and I absolutely love that. All right, little Levi is now happy because he is being fed. But anyway, there you have it. That is my countdown. Those are my reviews for the last, almost 10, but the last 9 palettes that I've been trying out and testing. Those are my reviews and the ranking that I put them in. I didn't even say it at the beginning, but I got this inspiration from Samantha March. She does a lot of ranking videos, and then also Annette's Makeup Corner. I think about... He's very loud when he eats, I'm sorry. But Annette's Makeup Corner, she'll take the last 10 or so palettes that she's been trying, and she'll put them in a ranking and then, you know, give her reviews that way. So I got my inspiration from both of them, and I'll have their channels linked down below. I am so sorry if you can hear all this. I'm sure you could hear that. But anyway, I asked in my, I think it was my countdown when I shared my monthly favorites and fails, if you guys mind knowing that I am feeding him, and a majority of people said they don't mind. And so I hope you don't mind, because not only do you definitely know I'm breastfeeding him, but you can hear. You can hear him. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to wait for when he's quiet. But anyway, trying to wrap this video up. I'll just wrap it up here. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Thank you guys so very much for your support, especially during this crazy time. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.